So the international break is gone and club football is back. We all love that. I'm sure you do. My name is Benjamin Nketia. Welcome to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. It's FA Cup time in the Premier League, or I should say in England, to put it better. And then also the Spanish La Liga has resumed again. Atletico Madrid really will be kicking themselves. They would have probably wanted to have a winning streak at this point in the season than when they probably had it, because they are struggling to close out the campaign. Real Madrid needed some heroics from Kylian Mbappe to get over the line, and then Barcelona, after what looked like an early scare, managed to blow their opponents away. So a lot to chew on today on the show as far as Scorecard is concerned. Let's do a quick turnaround. When we come back, we'll start talking. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. Susu Graham is in the studio. Champ, what's going on?
I'm good.
What's the weekend been like? Food festival going on?
Of course. I went to the nice chest. I packed. I bought mostly drinks, so I packed some drinks.
Have you ice chest?
No, but you see, there's so many things you want to try. Yeah. If you say you try everything, you come here, you'll be feeling heavy.
Yeah, that's
so serious. If you see something you like, buy it, put in the ice chest. Then you have the week to
you're a very
deal
serious
with
guy.
You have the week to deal with them. So I went to the nice chest. And I saw a lot of our fans.
I did. I actually was there on Saturday, so I passed by on Saturday. I checked out the local foods, some chewables, edibles,
exactly,
a lot of things. It was good.
I was there today. A lot of our fans. It was packed today.
Looks like people are still out there actually as we speak.
I hope the rain didn't catch them there.
Apparently, people were dancing in the rain. I don't know how.
Step up.
I know. I don't know how heavy the rain is out there, but it looks like it wasn't too problematic. And people were so happy that they couldn't mind. One thing you don't do for Ghanaians is let them know that there's a holiday the next day, and then you put festivities. Then
but that's the perfect time. So I was there. A lot of people were talking to me about they've been watching us and things. Yeah. They are fans of the show, so it was nice. Sorry if I can't remember all your names. You guys were a lot, so
let me tell you what made my weekend. So there was a little clip from Panorama where Coach was talking about Thomas Partey and his distribution. So apparently the video got to him. He saw the video and said, these guys are fun. I enjoy watching them, stuff like that. Sent it to somebody, and the person forwarded it to me.
Oh, okay.
Very interesting.
So Partey is a fan of us.
Very interesting stuff from the show there. He was up to his stuff. Anyway, it's FA Cup weekend. Let's get right into it. Let's get two highlights at a time. So let's start off with the first batch of matches. We had Fulham versus Crystal Palace. Eberechi Eze was up to his heroics. My Eze, your Eze. I don't know why nobody's buying my guy for big money. And then there was also Brighton and Hove Albion versus Nottingham Forest. So let's get back-to-back highlights. We'll come in studio and break it down. Drama of penalty shootout. Let's do a check back and let's go to Fulham versus Palace. Talk to me about that game. That came as a big shock to me. 3-0. I mean, I thought those were two teams of like equal quality, that type of thing. I didn't expect one team to get blown away.
Well, I did feel like Palace would go through. I was pretty sure of that. I mentioned on the Premier League preview show that I expected them to go through because they are the form team in the Premier League right now. Mm-hmm. They are the team that they are on a road. They are winning all their games. Yeah. I believe the season has started on October 10th. They'll be fourth. So the second half of the season has been great for them. Everything has gone well for them. And you see players picking up. Ismail Assar has picked up form. Mateta, to his form, has come back, so he didn't play today because of his head injury and all of that. So you are seeing the players. Adam Watson is playing a bit better than he did at the beginning of the season. He didn't seem like he was fit in the first half of the season. So things are going very well for Crystal Palace for sure. So that form is why I expected them to beat Fulham. I think you are right. Fulham and them are around the same level. You can argue that Fulham have probably had a better season so far, but the second half of the season, the momentum Crystal Palace have is very good. But we want to see this maintained the whole season because I think the second half of the season, they've probably been one of the best teams.
In fact, let me just buttress that. So I'm just checking out the form guide in the league, and they would have actually been third If you look at everything going on, 5 matches, the last 5 matches in the league played, 10 goals scored, 3 conceded, 12 points picked up.
Yeah, exactly. So they are just in a great moment, as they like to say. So I was not surprised that they beat Fulham. Like you said, 3-0 did surprise me, but them going through was not too much of a surprise for me. I expected it based on what I had seen so far.
Talk to me about Eze. I feel like Eze, not similar players, but he gives me the same feel as Mohamed Kudus. Technically very talented, can be very selfish, can be dribble happy at times. We all thought Eze would move for big money. The Palace owner thought Eze would move for big money in the last summer. He didn't. Today he was the backbone of their performance. What's holding him back from making that jump to the next level? Because the player we saw today is clearly world class, or at least close.
I think part of it was that even Palace didn't really want him to leave because they had just lost Olise. I think if they had lost both, they could have easily entered a relegation dogfight. Because you go from having 2 very good creative number 10s, quote unquote, then you get rid of both of them at the same time. Replacing one is hard enough. Ismail Assar has done very well to replace Olise. He's scoring a lot more than Olise did. So that's fine. But trying to replace those 2 players at the same time would have been very difficult. So I think Palace were happy he stayed. I'm sure if he goes somewhere this summer, it will be a bit more palatable because they've had 1 season. They've been able to kind of steady their ship. If he goes, they'll probably figure something out. So I just feel like sometimes it takes a bit of time. I think teams will be looking at him for sure, but you have to wonder who will be able to make the move. Because if you think about it, there's an issue in the Premier League right now. There's a lot of teams who are doing very well. They're upwardly mobile, but there's a lot of PSR issues. Forest will probably escape PSR issues because they'll get into the Champions League, which will probably supercharge their accounts. So they're someone that might want to look at easy. You look at someone like Aston Villa, someone like Newcastle. Those could be good moves for him. But those are teams.
What type of teams?
But those teams are very tight for money. And if Aston Villa, especially, don't make the Champions League, I think a lot of their players will be on the move. Because I saw a stat that I think is in 90% of their revenue is spent on wages. That's not sustainable. So
90%.
Yes. So if you're in a financial situation like that, you need Champions League football to boost their accounts. That's why Douglas Luiz was sold. And that's why you see them, that's why John Duran, they were so eager to let him, they were very happy to let him go in January. Even though everyone's like,
that was good money for them.
Very good money. So a lot of these teams have a lot of financial constraints, which is not, the owners don't want to spend money. I think these owners are ready to spend money, but PSR has kind of hampered them a little bit.
Let's talk about the second game. Nottingham Forest edging out Brighton and Hove Albion. Those were some very interesting penalties, for want of a better word. Some of the penalties were just really. Was that Murillo? Who skied that penalty?
I think Nico Williams.
Yes, good.
Nico
and
Williams.
Then I think Jack Hazelwood also missed for Brighton and Hove Albion.
I think what it is in these things is that usually most teams have 2 or 3 good penalty takers at best. And maybe those penalty takers might not have lasted the 120 minutes. They might go off for whatever reason. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to win the game in extra time, in normal time. You're not trying to go to penalties. So you might take someone who's a better penalty taker for someone who's not as good. And that's what shows in the shootouts. And you see some players you don't expect to see penalties. Like Milenkovic played a very good penalty. For a centre-back, I was surprised. But that was a very solid penalty.
Ironically, if I was a coach, I would always prefer centre-backs and DMs for penalties. I don't know. I don't like forward and winger penalties. They are either too audacious. I don't know what it is, but...
You like them simple. Blast it.
I think having watched football over the years, I have realized that defenders and midfielders generally are more reliable with penalties. I don't know why.
I think the best penalty I've seen was Harry Maguire in the Euros final. If you remember that penalty.
See?
That was a very good penalty.
Sergio Ramos used to be a really good penalty taker for Real Madrid too, I remember. But, I mean, talk about the job Espirito Santo has done this season. Looking like he's knocking on the doors of the Champions League.
Semi-finals
of the FA Cup.
I mean, this is probably the most success they've had since the late Brian Clough, who won back-to-back European Cups at the time, won Nottingham Forest, I believe their only league title. So I think this is probably the most they've enjoyed football since the late 80s. So
that's saying a lot.
I think it's a nice moment for them for sure. Even if they don't win anything, just going back to the Champions League will be a happy moment for Nottingham Forest.
Football at that ground will be crazy.
I mean, you have to remember, these are 2-time European champions. So
if the nostalgia it brings back.
They're a team that it would be nice to see them in
and
the
I'm sure there will
Champions
be
League
documentaries
again.
of people who used to
Exactly.
Like go to the stadium back in the day.
Exactly. Remember, it was a very different competition. Now it was straight knockout. So you play like 5. You only had like 5 home games and then the final. So it was a very different competition. So I don't think they've played in the European Cup. Probably and back then it was only the winner who plays there. So they probably haven't played in the European Cup since maybe 81, 1980, thereabouts. So it's been a long wait. So it'll be good times for them.
Now let's just stay on that FA Cup draw. So the draw is done. We know Aston Villa play Palace and then Forest plays City. So let's stay on that draw. Who do you fancy in that particular one?
I want to say, like I said, Palace are the form team. So I think this is their moment. I think they've picked up form at the right time. And I think Aston Villa, because of the Champions League, because of them being worried about their league position, there's a lot of things on their mind. Would they be getting tired because of all the games they are playing? Would they be kind of looking over their shoulder in the league? There's just a lot of concerns going on there. And then when I look at the Nottingham Forest City match, you don't know which City will turn up. City had a great second half against Bournemouth, for example. Because, I mean, Bournemouth didn't have a single shot in the second half. They had 0 XG in the second half. That showed you the dominance of Man City in the second half. We'll get to that match, of course. But they have moments where they look like the team we know and love. And there are some moments where you can't believe what you're watching. Because even that first half, they had 2 very good chances. They had, and Haaland missed the early header, then he missed the penalty. And then by the time they knew it, they fell asleep. Matheus Nunes played a horrible ball across the back line. You know, Bournemouth pick it up and then they score. So they have moments of brilliance and they have moments where like, are these people sure what they are doing? Are we sure that this Man City play? So knowing that they have that kind of fight or flight, let me put it that way, syndrome going on there, you really don't know which Man City will turn up, and that makes them a very dangerous opponent. But we know what Nottingham Forest are about. Sit deep, try and score first, then keep hitting you on the counter to seal the game. It's not worked so far for them against Man City, if I remember correctly. I don't think their results against Man City have been... I think they won 1 and lost 1. But I think the one they lost 3-0, I believe.
I'll have to just
Then they won the last one a few weeks ago, 1-0. I think that was the one Hudson-Odoi scored. If you remember, we were complaining about where Edison was standing and stuff. So their game, and that was a late goal. I don't think their game plan has worked as well against Man City as has against other teams. So that's a concern for me.
Well, I can definitely say that last victory they had against them will just have them feeling that, you know what, it's the cup, anything can happen. Let's get back-to-back highlights again of the other 2 matches that were played in the FA Cup. Preston North End against Villa, and then Manchester City against AFC Bournemouth. Okay, so let's start off on the game we just watched go by. Manchester City digging deep to get that one over AFC Bournemouth, and Semenyo, the unfortunate culprit there in the lead up to the winning goal.
Yeah, I mean, when you're not a defender and you're in a defensive position, sometimes you make those mistakes. It shows his hard work. He likes to get back, help the team out, but sometimes you overdo it. Sometimes you make a mistake. I think going to ground was a mistake there, but look, it happens. They still had a great season. Let's not take it away from Bournemouth. They've been very good. And I wanted them to win, to be honest, just because I wanted some excitement.
Variety.
City have won a lot in recent years. They can go 1 year without a trophy. They won't die, you know. The other teams, look at the parade Newcastle had over the weekend for winning the Carabao Cup.
I haven't seen City do that for any of their titles.
Exactly. So I was hoping that maybe Crystal Palace, you know, Crystal Palace have never won a trophy. Fulham have never won a major trophy. I think Brighton have also never won a major trophy. So there were some teams in there who, like, if they had, Bournemouth had also never won a major trophy. So you were hoping that Bournemouth, I was hoping for a Bournemouth Crystal Palace final, to be honest. Because that way someone will win something for the first time and, you know, make them happy. But it's not to be. The teams left in, I think Crystal Palace are the only one who've never won a trophy. So I would hope that they will be the ones to win it for sure. So that's why I look. But look, Bournemouth, it's still been a good season. I think Iraola has given a good account of himself. There's still Champions League to play for. A lot of league football left. So they can also get into the Champions League. Remember, it's 5 places, so there's nothing stopping them from getting that 5th place for sure.
What's contributing to Erling Haaland's struggles this season? I mean, out of the fact that Manchester
has he really struggled? I mean, he scored 30 goals.
He has. I mean, for his own standards, I don't know if you remember how he started the season. By the 4th game, he already had like 3 hat-tricks.
Yeah, you know,
he started on a really crazy
and then he went
tear.
on a drought, and then he's picked. Well, look, he scored 30 goals in each of his 3 seasons at Man City. I think he's the 3rd player to do that. I mean, or the 2nd player since Ruud van Nistelrooy. The 1st player since Ruud van Nistelrooy. So look, if you are scoring 30 goals a season and we are saying he's having a bad season.
For his own standards.
Yeah, I mean let's be fair to him. I think he's doing okay. But look, I think the problems with City are bigger. We saw them like they're just a bit more sloppy than usual. Even the goal they conceded, very sloppy goal. And Haaland too has missed a number of penalties, like you said off air. He's missed what you said. He's missed 4 out of 7. And you are wondering to yourself what's going on there.
Yep.
So I'm just feeling like Man City, they're just not at their best. But they said the rebuild is coming. So let's see what they do in the summer. I think it will be a very interesting summer. Rodri will be back, of course. And let's see. I'm hearing that Rodri might play at the Club World Cup, which starts in June.
Wow.
So
trying to give him some preseason before the real preseason.
I think they are taking the Club World Cup very seriously because, as you know, they are having an extraordinary registration window before the Club World Cup.
And there's a lot of revenue at stake this time around.
Exactly, $120 million for the winner.
Crazy money.
That's excluding other prize money in terms of appearance and win bonuses and that kind of stuff. So a lot of money at stake. And especially for like the clubs from smaller countries and less rich leagues. Can you imagine the African teams? What that would do for some of them? The teams from Asia, the team from Oceania who's going to be there. There's a lot of money for some of them.
I mean, look, I was beginning to think that tournament was wasting everybody's time. They've injected some real incentive into it for people
100%.
or teams to want to play now.
And they also play it every 4 years, so it's a proper World Cup.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just finally, before we take our first break, what is stopping Cup specialist Unai Emery from winning this FA Cup?
Crystal Palace.
You sure about that?
I think, like I said, Crystal Palace are in very good form. I trust Unai Emery. Look, they have the better players. It's whether they have the better coaches is debatable because Glasner is not bad himself. I mean, we saw him with them Eintracht Frankfurt. I believe they won the Europa League, if I'm not mistaken. So he's shown that he's also a decent coach himself. So, look, these are two very good coaches, very interesting tactical ideas. So it won't be the type of match you see that you're like it's clear cut to win. These are two very smart coaches. Neutral ground, played at Wembley. I think more of a home game for Crystal Palace, considering they're a London team as well. So they'll be definitely more able to mobilize their supporters to get into Wembley. But still going to be a very difficult game, a great occasion because I'm not sure Crystal Palace have had many trips to Wembley for sure. Because for a team that's never won a trophy, maybe they've had some finals, they've been there and lost.
I remember the probably was
maybe a promotion playoff.
Martin O'Neill, I'm sure.
Maybe a promotion playoff or something. So to get there via the FA Cup will be a big moment for the club. I'll have to check whether they've had an FA Cup final or something of their sorts before. But
I think there was one under Martin O'Neill. I'm not too sure about that.
No, Alan Pardew. I think they go to a semi-final or like a final.
That was Palace.
Yes, I think so.
He did that.
Exactly. The dance. Yeah, I remember. Yes,
yeah, that was the one.
Thank you for reminding me.
Anyway, let me just read a few messages before we take our first break. Joy from Kumasi says, I hope Pep won't win this FA Cup in his worst season. This one here says, good evening to you guys. It's your boy Abonkele from Nungwa. My light is out, but guess who's back? Drogba, rejuvenated Jackson is back. Palmer is back. Madueke is back. Lavia is back. James is fine like wine. Remember Tottenham in your prayers. Look at this guy. You have your players back, and so you have enough time to lend some solidarity to others. Anyway, let's take our first break on the show. When we come back, we'll bring you some stuff from the other leagues. There's a lot to chew on this time around. Stay with us here on Scorecard. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. I am Benjamin Nketia. Susu Graham is in the studio with me. Let's get into more highlights. Let's change direction a little and let's head to Spain. Atletico Madrid really have not had the best of times. Before the international break, they were struggling a little. They were hoping that it would give them a little respite to be able to retool, rejuvenate, and then make a final push for the title. It's not been like that at all. They stumbled once again, and this time they were up against Espanyol. Let's get the highlights. You can see the agony on the faces of the players. They know just how costly those 2 points are. Big points drop for Atletico.
Yeah, very, very disappointing. But to be fair to Yano Black, there's nothing he could have done about that penalty. That penalty was a top penalty. Like there was nothing Oblak could do. But it's a sloppy penalty to give away, to grab the player like that, especially now we have Vieira. But the referee didn't even need Vieira. He saw it clear.
He saw it
clear, so he just pointed at the spot. But even the highlights, they didn't really seem to create a lot of very good chances. Yeah, it wasn't like there were some chances that they
Aspilicueta goal was out of nothing.
Exactly. So I think they themselves were lucky to be ahead in the first place. and they kind of threw it away. So very disappointing.
Who's to blame? Because you would have said that they're in the Champions League, there's a lot more pressure playing multiple competitions, or you're in the Copa del Rey. You don't have to contend with any of that, and you are still not being able to see out your league obligations.
I think sometimes things just don't go your way. Sometimes the game plan just doesn't work. And we saw it in this game. They just couldn't create clear-cut chances. That's all it was. And to be fair, we didn't see much from Espanyol either in the highlights. It just so happened that they got a penalty and they took it. So sometimes it's just one of those days where things just don't go your way. But when you're the one chasing the title, when you're Espanyol and you're lower in the table, a point against Atleti is like, you won the jackpot. But for Atleti, you are thinking to yourself, we need to keep the pressure on Real Madrid. We need to keep the pressure on Barcelona. And I believe they played before both teams. So when you lose like that, it's like you've given Real Madrid and Barcelona the advantage to say, oh, these guys drop points. Let's go and win. Let's go and extend the gap. So I'm sure we'll see the Real Madrid and Leganés game. We'll see the Barcelona and Girona games in the coming moments. And you'll see that those games weren't easy for Real Madrid especially as well. But they got their job done, whereas Atleti didn't. And that's the difference. And that's why Atleti's title hopes seem to be in the gutter.
If I remember correctly, Simeone has 2 league titles, no?
Yes.
2 league titles. He's been to at least 2 Champions League finals.
Yes, he's won the Europa League twice. So, I mean, look, he's done very well.
Should he move on?
Oh, I think it's a difficult one. I think they've just entered a new cycle with the players they've bought. They spent a lot of money in the summer. So I think that this is a new cycle they are trying to build. I think eventually they'll have to replace Griezmann. I think this is Griezmann's last season. So someone else will have to come in and replace him. So let's see where that goes. Let's see where the idea is after Griezmann.
Atletico Madrid will not be happy with how this weekend ended. Let's get to their rivals and title rivals of that. Real Madrid Football Club up against Leganés. Very difficult game for them. You look at it on paper and you would have thought that this would be a straightforward win for Real Madrid. It was nothing but straightforward. According to some stats I picked up, this was Kylian Mbappe's first career free kick goal.
That wasn't a free kick goal. They passed the ball for you and they put it down.
It's a layoff.
No, it's not a free kick.
It's not a free kick goal.
I don't count.
Why?
I'm not even being a hater. I don't need to get into it. It's not a free kick. Let's stop this. This is not a free kick. Let's not do this. It's not a free kick.
Big window for them.
Oh, very big win.
He got a brace for them.
I remember I was saying before we went, Leganés have beaten Atleti. They've beaten Barca.
They beat Atleti 1-0, beat Barca 1-0.
So they're a team that
they have an appetite for the big boys.
Yeah, but they're in the relegation zone somehow.
They're 18th on the table.
Yeah, so they're a dangerous team. And look at that chance, even that they go and they miss. They could have won this game for sure. But I think they were very unhappy because they felt that the penalty was soft. They felt that the free kick that was given that Mbappe scored, quote unquote, was also a soft foul. I have to agree with them on the free kick especially. That did not look like a foul to me. But at the end of the day, once they give the decision and it goes in, you can't complain. It is what it is. Very big win for Real Madrid, but they made a meal out of it. This should have been a very straightforward game, but somehow, some way, they just couldn't.
I was just about to say that. What's hampering them? They seem to be. They are dragging themselves to the rest of the season. That's what it looks like to me.
But you see, like I said, we see this all the time with Real Madrid, where it's like they win matches, but they're not necessarily playing well. There's a lot of character, there's a lot of mentality. But sometimes you wonder about the performances because you can watch a game and it's like Real Madrid will be the worst team for 70 minutes. But those 2 10-minute spells where they wake up, they'll score 2 goals in each of those 10-minute spells and kill the game. And we see it a lot in the Champions League. I think the Champions League season that really stuck out to me was the one that just before the World Cup, the one where Benzema won the Ballon d'Or for that season. I think he scored.
Where they eliminated Man City.
I think they eliminated Man City. They eliminated Chelsea. There was another game, but look, I think Benzema scored 15 goals on like 5 or 6 xG. I think they were out xG'd in every tie they played. It was ridiculous.
A very crazy
then
run.
Courtois made like 9 saves in the final. So it's the Real Madrid way. It feels like whatever you do, you can create all the chances. You can pull them apart. But if you don't punish them, if you don't score 4 or 5 goals, if you score just 1 or 2, they'll come back. I think the PSG game as well, PSG just collapsed at the end. So that's just the Real Madrid way. I think there's just a winning mentality. There's just this believe that we'll win the game no matter what, no matter how well we play. The game is ours to win and we'll win it. So I think that's what manifests. I think it's psychological. I think they think they'll win, and I think everyone knows they think they'll win, and everyone knows that Real Madrid can win even when they don't play well.
Yep.
So as you are trying to defend your lead, it's in the back of your mind that, hey, these people are going to do their thing again. So I think it all plays into it. I think that winning mentality, that spirit, that never say die to the players have, it's infectious. So I think that's what gets them over the line a lot. But the performances sometimes leave a lot to be desired.
Somebody once told me, a joker said, he says, when you play Real Madrid, you don't take your foot off the gas. You don't think you've won the game until their bus has left the stadium. That's real. That's how crazy it is when you play Real Madrid. Anyway, let's get to their title rivals, Barcelona. They were up against Girona in their own Catalan derby of some sorts there. Let's get the highlights of that game. Yes, so the title race heating up. I believe Real Madrid and Barca are level on points as we speak. So, 4-1 against Girona, big win for Barca.
Of course. And you always want to beat your local rivals and establish that you are the biggest team in the city. Especially, look, when you're a team like Barcelona and you are the team the city is known for. It's important to have those bragging rights, you know. I think Girona beat them at the Camp Nou last season, so it's very good they got their revenge to show that that this is our city. That don't think that last season means that you can kind of think that you are the top dogs here. It's still us. And it's very important because these are the games that give momentum. And considering that they had a match on Thursday night, very quick turnaround. I mean, the match on Thursday was postponed. Like, it had to be played at some point, but very quick turnaround. But Barca have handled it. And I believe midweek, maybe they might have the Spanish Cup. We'll have to check on that. But the Copa del Rey semi-finals are coming up. Exactly. So it's a tough week. The next midweek, we have the Champions League. So things are really heating up. The season is getting to the business end. So the games are coming thick and fast. So it'll be interesting to see how the teams handle this for sure. But for a team like Barcelona, I believe they are playing Atleti, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they're playing Atleti in the Spanish Cup. That's going to be a difficult midweek as well. So nothing is easy right now. It's that time of the season where every game matters. Every game is a final. So let's see how it goes.
Every game matters and every game is a final. Let's do another break here on the show. When we come back, we'll bring you the final leg. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. Let's get to Italy and get to the Italian Serie A. The title race, again, very keenly contested in that side of town. Inter Milan were up against Udinese, and then there was also Napoli against AC Milan. So big games there with title implications. Let's get back-to-back highlights of those two games. AC Milan. Once upon a time, would probably have been contesting for the title. These days, I don't know. Anyway, quick thoughts on that game. Napoli winning by 2-1.
Oh, it was expected. It wasn't a surprise. I think if you look at the way Milan have been playing the last few weeks, there's not a team that can keep clean sheets. There's not a team that attacks reliably. And then you look at the lineup. When you see João Felix starting a game like this over Rafael Leao, it's almost like the coach has given up before the whistle has been blown. I think things didn't go right. They had a penalty they missed that wasn't shown on the highlights. Like, everything that could go wrong has been going wrong for AC Milan the last few weeks. I think they're a team that might have missed more penalties than they've scored this season. So just overall a very poor season, very poorly run. I think their summer market was a huge error because why is it that you spend money on Emerson Royal and Alvaro Morata, and in January you are spending more money on replacements for them? That means you've completely
just bad business.
You've got it completely wrong. And I think at some of the January signings, you really wonder about their impact. I've complained about the Felix signing multiple times. I'll keep complaining. I don't know who sanctioned that signing, but whoever it is, that person deserves to be sacked. Because we've seen this guy fail at club after club after club. So why did AC Milan think that they could be the ones to fix him? I just can't understand it. But look, credit to Napoli. They've been one of the best teams. They've started a bit. They've had a lot of draws in their last few games. I think if they had been able to there were some games where, you feel like Venezia, they couldn't get past. They lost to Como. There are a few games the last few months, you're thinking to yourself, they drew a Roma as well that.
If you had gotten over the line in those games,
you were just close. You'd have
a little more breathing room now.
If you had 6 or 5 more points, you'd be ahead of Inter. And I think you'd be able to be push Inter close going into their home straight, because Inter have Champions League football, you don't. So it's going to be a very interesting one. But I still think Inter are favourites. I thought they were favourites at the start of the season. They are proving me right. They are coming down strong going into the home straight. And Inzaghi loves to rotate his team, so I don't expect them to get tired. I don't see them as a team that will be exhausted. They are going to be able to manage their minutes and get the best out of their team. So even though we saw the last few minutes against Udinese, they were a bit shaky. That's why you have a good keeper in Jan Sommer. He'll keep you in those games. So the way I see it, this title is Inter's to lose. But if Napoli can string some few games together and keep the pressure on, if Inter drop some points, they can be there. And we've seen it happen before, where the season Milan won their title. I think that was 2022 maybe?
Yeah.
I can't quite remember the exact year. 2021, 2022, that time frame. Inter were in their driving seat, and then they had just one horrendous game against, I believe, was it Bologna?
And then the title just evaporated.
They just lost it on that day, because this was a game they should have won, but they didn't. And that gave Milan the chance. So if Napoli just keep up the pressure, and the way Serie A is now, if they finish level on points, there's a playoff. There's no goal difference. There's no head-to-head. Once it's level on points, there's a one.
That's an interesting tiebreaker.
There's a playoff. So if Napoli can keep up their pressure and at least finish level on points, you give yourself another chance to win the title directly. So
I feel like a final of some sorts.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to Sue Graham. Thank you very much to everybody who tuned into the show. Next week, we'll be back to 1 hour and 30 minutes. We'll be back with the tactical breakdowns as well. Until then, Scorecard will be back on your screen same time next week.